Hey there, Cricut friends. It's Ian from Snip to It. If you've ever wanted to add a bold, eye-catching drop shadow to your projects but weren't sure how to do it in Design Space, you're in the right place. In this video, I'm going to show you two different ways to create a shadow effect. One that's perfect for vinyl projects using the knockout method, and another that works beautifully for Papercraft with layered cardstock. So let's dive in. So using a knockout is the way I make drop shadows for vinyl and HTV projects, so I can add depth and emphasis to my design without adding weight or bulkiness to the construction. This method lets me look like I'm adding dimension, but in reality, I'm creating a design that is going to lie in a single flat layer. I'm going to demonstrate this technique using text, but these methods are equally applicable if you're using shapes or images in Design Space. Now, there are a couple of different ways you can approach your drop shadow stylistically. You can use a duplicate of your original text for a more modern look, or you can use an offset of your text for a more traditional drop shadow. I prefer using a duplicate when I'm using a sans serif or a bold or chunky font, and I use an offset when I'm using script or a more traditional serif font. So I'm starting in Design Space with just a simple block of text on the canvas. I'm using the font Ultra, which is very chunky and thick. I'm going to use the duplicate method for this knockout, so I'll start by making two copies of this text block. I'm going to just move the top layer to the side for now. Next, I'm going to arrange the other two layers so I get the shadow effect I'm looking for. Change the colors if you want to distinguish between these two layers. When you've got these two layers arranged so that it represents the top layer and the right amount of shadow that you want showing, select both layers and then use the Subtract tool inside the Combine menu. Now you'll be left with just the knockout shadow layer. You've got the last layer of the text as your main focus layer, and you're ready to cut this out of two different colors of vinyl. I really like this method using the Subtract tool because I don't have to use the Slice tool and create a bunch of leftover layers. And you can edit or undo this operation later if you need to make an adjustment. If you're going to use the offset method to create a knockout drop shadow, it's the same steps, but instead of making two copies of your text at the beginning, just make one. When I'm doing papercraft or card making, I have a different approach to using drop shadows. I make a new full layer underneath my original shape, which is very easy to manage, and it creates actual real dimension with multiple layers of cardstock. It's a whole lot easier than doing the knockout method and having to piece together a bunch of small shadow segments cut out of cardstock. So once again, I'm starting with a basic block of text on the Design Space canvas. Depending on the style of text you're using, you could use a duplicate of the text or an offset. I'll start with an offset, then show you when you might want to use a duplicate. So using an offset to make a drop shadow is very easy. With this script text, which is called Billion Dreams and is a Design Space font, you simply open the offset tool, enter a number or use the slider, and use the preview as a guide. I'm going to make my offset a little on the small side. You can adjust your offset to whatever amount of shadow or depth you want for your own lettering. So now that the offset is created, I'm going to select both layers and use the alignment tool to line them up on the left and at the top to check my shadow effect. Now if I cut these two layers and align them to the top left, the shadow layer will be a complete base to lay the top layer on. Just the offset, no other adjustments necessary. Now here's a variation on that method. If I'm using a sans serif or a bold font, I like the duplicate style of drop shadow. The issue that I run into when I'm doing a papercraft project is that if I simply lay one letter over a duplicate to create a shadow, there are portions of the top layer of cardstock that don't get properly adhered to the base. I want the bottom layer of the drop shadow to make a complete base for the top layer so it can be glued down without any weird little overhang. So back on the canvas, I'm going to make two duplicates of the text and move one off to the side. Then I'm going to move the remaining layers of text around until I get the right shadow effect that I'm looking for. When these two layers are properly placed, I'm going to select them both and then open the Combine menu and use the Unite tool. Now I can put the original text layer on top and you can see that it fits perfectly over the shadow layer, and I will have a full layer to apply my glue when I assemble the text when it's cut out of cardstock. And that's it. 2 easy ways to create stunning drop shadows in Cricut Design Space, whether you're working with vinyl or layering paper. If this video helped you, go ahead and hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more Cricut tutorials, tips, and tricks. You got questions or want to see a specific project next? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and happy crafting!